Hello, my name's John. Welcome to the first video of our Cornerstone training. It's the first of 4 videos. We recommend that you watch all of them. We think it's super important to run through the 4 videos in order to make sure that you get the system set up and operating the way that you need it to. So in the first of these sessions, what we're going to be doing is taking you through the setup. So we're going to configure Hindsight for maximum opportunity to succeed. We're going to make sure that the settings are set up and right for each person within the practice. So the first thing we're going to take a look at is understanding your environment, and we're going to go through these items here: menu, support, the dummy data, portfolio and rows, client settings, and the free versus paid. We're not going to go into massive detail in the differences between free versus paid. I'm just going to give you an overview of how to set them up so that you can see the differences between the clients and how you would access those. We're going to be taking a look at sticky versus minimized menus, the practice admin menu, and your personal profile within the system. So we'll just jump across into Hindsight and we'll take a look at that now. If you're watching this video, then hopefully it means that you've got a user account. Otherwise, I'll be surprised why you're watching this video. But you can see from the screen that you've got 2 different options. When you registered for an account, you've got the ability to set up your own username and password. Alternatively, you can use the sign in with 0 button, and that will use the same login credentials that you use when you log into 0. So you don't need to maintain separate login and password for Hindsight as well if you don't want to. But in this instance, I'm going to log in using those. Okay, so from a menus point of view, it's quite simple. We have the ability to have the menu open at all times. So if I've just hovered over there, you can see if I actually click on this option now, I can have the sticky menu available so I can see at all times what my menu options are. If I want to maximize what I'm working on, I can just click it again and it will disappear. If I hover over these, then I can still see them. And if there are additional options like this arrow here, I can click into that and it will open up that navigation menu there. Now, one thing you will see on here is I've got a global admin section. Nobody within the practice will see that. That's just for me. If you are a practice administrator and have practice admin rights at practice level, you will be able to see this practice admin tab. So if you don't see this, don't worry, it's not broken. It just means that you have not been given practice administrator rights within inside the practice. If you think you need to, then you'll need to speak to somebody else within the practice. The only other options you've got available to you is your personal profile up here. As you can see at the moment, this still needs to be built out. There's not an awful lot going on in here, so you can just sign out from here. The idea with this is we'll build this personal profile section out so that you'll be able to update your own details and change those. At the moment, you'd need to speak to your practice administrator to do that. So that's very straightforward. That's the menu side of the system. Now, from a support point of view, these are the different options that are available to us. We've got live chat, we've got the knowledge base, there are video tutorials on a YouTube channel, you can submit a ticket, and you can also have a look at the roadmap to see if there are things that are coming up that you are interested in. So looking at the live chat option, you can see from within inside Hindsight in the bottom left hand corner here, I've got an option. It's currently saying that we're offline. So that means nobody's either manning the live chat or they're on another call at the moment. If I do want to speak to somebody, I can just click in here, hit chat now, put some details in there and hit submit. Obviously, if someone is online, then you'd be able to communicate with them directly from the system. Most of the other options available to you are up here in the main navigation. So if I click on knowledge base, that will take me to the help guide articles. If I click on tutorials, that will take me through to the YouTube channel, and there are videos in there that will help you. Likewise, what I can do is hit on the ticket icon. That will open up a separate page within inside the website, and you'll be able to submit a support ticket. Those support tickets come through to me in our CRM system for me to tackle, and we'll be in contact with you if we need further information. And finally, you've got the option to look at the roadmap on the website. This will just give you an idea of the things that we're currently working on and ideas that we've got for stuff that's going to be coming later on. Now, if you have got any suggestions for features, it's a good idea to check the roadmap first because we might already be looking at it. If not, you can submit a ticket And from that ticket, you've got the option to request a new feature and give us some information there as to what you would like to see and how that's going to benefit the practice. So that's how you would kind of navigate around the system and then find some additional help and support if you need it. Inside of Hindsight, there are elements of dummy data. We've done this so that you can have a look at what you would see if you had access to those parts of the system or those parts of the reports. This is particularly important if you've got all of your clients on free or you've got all of your clients on the paid option. It still gives you the ability to see what the differences would be if you had a client on free versus paid. So I'm going to walk you through some of these screens now. You can see from the slide we've got dummy data for the MOT, the heart rate, portfolio, the user dashboard, the manager dashboard, and also for the free dashboard as well. So predominantly for the reporting side of the system. So at the moment, I've got access to the portfolio dashboard. This is actual data, or if I will go to the free dashboard, what you can see is I've got an example free dashboard. I don't have any clients that are connected on the free plan, but what I have got is some information in here so that I can take a look at this. Now, I can click read more and go and find out a bit more about this, or what I can do is just close it and see what's available in here. That note did say, obviously you can see there's options to interact here. It shows you hyperlinks and stuff, but you can't drill into this data because there isn't actually anything sat behind there. This is just all hard coded in here to show you the types of information that you can see if you are accessing the free dashboard. Okay, so that's the free dashboard. Now I'm logged in the system. I have all my clients on a paid plan, and I'm allocated to all of those clients as a manager. So if I were to go to the user dashboard, once again, what we can see here is we're getting some dummy data come up. And this is because I'm not allocated to any clients as a user, but we still want you to be able to see the sorts of things that you would see if you were accessing this user status. Likewise, if I was allocated all the clients as a user, I wouldn't have any data in my manager's dashboard, but I'd see an example of the manager's dashboard so that I could see what type of information would be available to me if I had manager status. Some of the other information that we've got, so again, all of my clients are on the paid plan. So I'm getting an example MOT report. So this is the free client version of the heart rate report. What we can do with this, as we can see, it's a nice example. I can still download this as a PDF report. So I've got the same functionality. So if I wanted to use this as an example or something to give to a client to say, look, this is the type of information that we could be providing you with on a regular basis, I've got something useful there without sharing any client information or giving access to anything that somebody shouldn't be looking at. So if you see anywhere within Hindsight, example demo data, or those messages popping up to tell you that it's example data, it just means you don't have access to either clients or access at the user rights level for that particular screen. But we still want you to be able to see what is available should you think it makes sense to use it for that particular client. So the next section that we're going to look at is portfolio and roles. Now, one of the main things within Hindsight is that we're trying to help you get all of your clients on board, and we want you to use it across your entire practice. So what you can see from this is we work on a portfolio basis, so you've got the ability to split your clients up into portfolios because that's how most practices will work. And there are two different types of users within the system. You have a practice user and you have a client user. And the difference between those two is that the practice user controls how somebody interacts with Hindsight, the system. The client user roles manage how you interact with individual clients. If you want somebody in your portfolio, you have to have client user access to them, otherwise you won't see them in your portfolio. Okay, and then we've got the ability to switch between them in different dashboards depending on the type of roles that you've got. So I'm going to show you some live examples of how this works now. This is actually really important. and one of the main reasons that people struggle to understand why they're not seeing certain parts of the system or certain clients that they think they should have access to. So if we come across into Hindsight, this is where the practice admin side of the system comes into play. So if you don't have practice admin access, then you won't be able to determine which clients you can see. This is a role for a manager or a practice admin. So we can see within the system that we've got multiple different users set up. This column here called practice role, this is what we mean when we're talking about your practice user level. So you can see we've got 3 admins on the account and we've got 1 user. Okay, so the 3 people with admin rights, they would be able to click into client access and determine the different levels of client access that each team member has, and they can change these. Obviously they don't all have to be the same level. You can have different levels depending on the clients that you're working with and what your responsibilities are for those clients. So if you are a user within practice, you would not be able to see this section here, and you would not be able to allocate clients to users. There is another way that you can also allocate users to clients. That's by going directly to the client itself. And we can see under the client details, there are different tabs here. If we go to user roles, again, we've got the same information here. We've got the ability to assign a partner, a user and a manager, and we can add as many of those as we like or need. Again, you're only going to have the ability to see this tab and to make these changes if you've got admin access rights at the practice level. Okay, so if you don't see this in here, it's because you don't have the necessary access rights. If you want someone to have the ability to make these changes, they will have to have admin rights from a practice role point of view. And to change those, if I wanted to give test access, it'd be a case of just editing there and changing his access rights within the system there. Obviously I'm not going to do that because I don't want them to be able to do so. From a client user point of view, as we've already seen, I've got the ability, so I can do it by individual client, but if you've got a large portfolio of clients, that could take a while for you to do that. Now, I'm just going to change this a second and just show you. I'm just going to get rid of Hindsight completely. So I've now got access to these 3 different clients. So if I save that, we go back to my clients list now. You can see that Hindsight has disappeared from my portfolio list. I can no longer see Hindsight. I don't have access to Hindsight as my portfolio. So this is how you allocate and divvy up your clients between your different teams and your different portfolios within your organization. What you will also note now is I gave myself access to one of the clients as a user. So I've now got a user's dashboard. That's now showing me just the one client that I've got user access to. Don't worry that there's no chart appearing in here. I need more than one data point for that to appear. But I've also now got a manager's dashboard with the 2 clients on because I'm the manager for these 2 clients. So as you can see, you've got complete flexibility over how you allocate, assign, and show the information that you need to see depending on how your practice operates. Just to reiterate, it's super important that when we add new users, we do allocate them to clients. One of the biggest mistakes that we see happening is that people don't allocate clients to their staff members, and then when they log in to try and do some work, they don't have access to the right people. Now, if you are a practice admin, when you click add user, what will actually happen as you fill these details in on the next screen, it will ask you to allocate clients to the user, so that should happen automatically. If you're the very first person setting a practice up, what you've got to remember is those clients didn't exist when you added yourself as a user, so you will 100% have to come in here and give yourself client access to those clients because the clients didn't exist at the point when you originally set yourself up for the system. It's really important that you do that. Okay, so we're now going to move on to the client settings side of Hindsight. So we're going to move away from the practice and users. We've configured those, so we can now access the system, we can navigate around, and we can see what we need to see. Now, what's important from the client point of view is that no two clients are created equal. So whilst we have defaults embedded into the system, there are times when you're going to need to tweak those settings for the individual clients. I'm going to take you across now into the system, and I'm going to show you how this works. So if I go into the client section, if I click into any client, you can see what we've got at the top here is what we call the kind of client quick panel. So we can see my client information, the name, the last time I synced with 0, what my quality of my records looks like. I can hover over the graph and see this over the last 90 days. I can see any alerts I've got outstanding currently and the priority, and I can see what's been happening with that client over the last 30 days. So I can see the trend, and on this example, we're going in the right direction. You know, things are definitely going down towards the right. And I can also see transaction volumes for the last 3 complete months compared to the previous 3 months. So for this client, see, no invoices have been raised, and all of the other transaction volumes are going in the wrong direction. So we need to understand what's happening with this business. Down at the bottom, we've got the client details. So this is data that's pulled across from 0. We can't change any of this. If you need to update this, you would update it in 0, and then when we do the next sync, that information would be pulled across into Hindsight. There is a hyperlink for the company reg number. So if you want to go and look at this company or company's house, you can just click there. Just to show you the 2 things that you can change. We've got the bookkeeping side of things here. Now, this determines who does the bookkeeping for the client. Is it you? Does the client do it themselves internally, or does the client do it but they pay somebody externally to do it? So are you an accountancy practice but they have a bookkeeper that does it? It's that sort of scenario that we're looking at here. If you select practice, what you'll find is there is a star after the client's name in the rest of the system. This is to give you a visual aid that you are the person responsible for doing the bookkeeping for this client. So if you find things aren't looking quite so good, you know that it's someone within your practice that's responsible for that. The other option you've got here is whether they're on the free or the paid plan. You will only see this option if you have the relevant access rights to do this. So you can switch a client from here if you want to do it on an individual basis, or in the practice admin tab in billing, which I'll show you in a second. Now, what we have with this client is the ability to look at the alerts that have been generated for just this client. Everything that's in this menu is pretty much practice level. What we've got from the client record is we've got the ability to do some deep work just on an individual client. So I can look at the alerts for just this client. I can look at the transaction volumes just for this client and over a period of time. But more importantly, what I've got in here is the ability to change the alert settings. So what I can do is I can look through this client. I've got a good understanding of who they are. I can decide what the priority for the alert should be, what the parameters and the variables should be, who within our practice should be assigned these alerts should they trigger, and whether we even have them turned on or off. What we can also see is when they last triggered. So this is just telling us the last time these alerts actually triggered, because that's the last time that the system found a problem. You can see with open sales credits here, as an example, there is no last triggered date, which means that this has never triggered for this particular client. The question marks at the end of this description will take you through to the help guide for this item. So if you want to get a better understanding of what is open sales credits actually doing as an alert option, if we click on that, that will take us to the help guide and we can find out more information and what we want to do with it. The bank account settings allows you to control what you do with your bank accounts. You can see I've got a lot of mine turned off, but we can set a pound amount or a percentage. So we've got a trigger threshold or a pound amount to say if the bank balance goes above or below a certain amount, what's the priority and who should get notified about it. If we have overdrafts in place for these bank accounts, you can put the overdraft limit in here, and you can do the same thing again. You can say, tell me when we get above or below a certain amount, okay? We'll go through alert settings in a lot more detail. There's a whole session on alert settings of how to deal with the alerts and when to complete them. We've also got the similar thing for credit cards. I don't have any credit cards for this client, but if I did, it'd be similar to the bank account ones. We've looked at user roles previously, so there's no need to go over this in any major detail. But the last option we've also got is data sync. So this again is just highlighting to us when was the last time that this data synced with Xero. We've got green ticks across the board, which shows that all the endpoints and the alerts have run correctly. What you can also see is I do have an option here. Should I have carried out a load of corrective work in Xero and I want to reflect that information in hindsight, I don't want to wait until tomorrow morning when the alerts rerun. I could force that now. What that would then do is it will update my alert data in here, and if I rerun the heart rate report, it will refresh that data. So if I've done a load of work in the morning, I've made a lot of corrections, and I want that to be reflected in here so my manager can see that I've done some good work, then I can come in here and I can hit sync now and rerun everything. One of the last things I'll just show you is from the client details tab. What we can also do if we decide that we no longer, maybe we don't work with this client anymore, or we've decided we don't need to use Hindsight for them, I can hit the disconnect from Xero button from the client details tab. That will then disconnect Hindsight from Xero. So we will stop seeing data come through here on a day-by-day basis. If you had alerts that were outstanding, they would still stay there until somebody's tackled them, but it just means we will stop syncing with Xero on an ongoing basis. Okay, so as I explained at the beginning of the video, we're not going to go into the free versus paid and all the different options in great detail. What I want to do just while we're talking setup is walk you through how do you switch between the two different plans, and ultimately what does that look like from a practical point of view. So all of my clients are currently on the paid plan at the moment. I could from here choose to change Smart to free, because I have the access rights to be able to do that. Okay, what we can see instantly is I have a lot less information on my client record. We're not compiling all of the data that relates to the paid option here. I've lost a lot of the tab functionality down here because I don't have the alerts at client level. I don't have transaction volumes on the free plan. So that is how you can switch between the two for an individual client. Very quick, very easy, very simple. What you may wish to do, if you've got practice admin rights, is you can come into the billing section up here and you can change these as well. You can just go through and change those, hit the save button, and that will update all of them at the same time. So I'll just switch a couple of these over. So we'll just do Smart in just add tech is free. Okay, now what will happen is my dashboard is changed. You can see my portfolio dashboard is dramatically reduced because I've got less clients on here. But if I were to go to my free dashboard, rather than having a demo system, templated data, I've now actually got some real information being displayed in here. I have in my alerts, I have a free tab. I don't have any alerts because I've only switched these over today, so these alerts will run tomorrow morning once we get to the next sync. And in my reports section, my MOT report, you can see that I've now got the two clients that I've just loaded onto the free option. Okay, and we've just seen from a client's point of view, I can still see those on here, but if I go into them, I've got a lot more kind of reduced information that I'm able to see for these clients. And that is how you would switch between the two plans. Now just bear in mind that when you're switching between plans, if you have alerts that are currently outstanding, they will still be there when you switch. We don't make them disappear. So if you've paid for alerts and they've generated, you can still take corrective action, deal with those and mark them as completed. But what you'll find is tomorrow morning, when you're on the free plan, it will be the free basic suite of alerts that generates for you. And that's it. That is the basic walkthrough and setup of Hindsight. So the next thing to do will be to watch the next video in the series, so that now we've got the system set up, we can actually start doing some work.